Hello, I'm Joseph Napier Sr., a creator of this short tribute to May 31st, 1985. The F5 tornado, as you see pictured here, would carve a 47-mile path all the way from the west side of Ravenna, if you will, all the way to Wheatland, Pennsylvania to be exact. I'm going to be talking to you commentary style as we're watching together the photos on this day, if you will, 40 years ago, on the different devastation that took place along the way. It was a very different kind of day. I was in that area, the Eastwood Mall, which is in Niles, Ohio. The day before the incident happened, me and my brothers, we went on a long bicycle ride from the east side of Youngstown. I was 23 years of age to be exact. We rode from the east side of Youngstown all the way out to Eastwood Mall and then back. That was the longest bicycle ride I ever made in my life, and I would never ever repeat it again. Very, very long ride. I think I was sore a couple days after that. Nevertheless, you're seeing the devastation that took place in Newton Falls. We just left the Ravenna Arsenal area, or some people like to call it Camp Ravenna. And it traveled east towards Wheatland. Along the way, touched a lot of communities, as you can see here. I have a story from a Captain Tom Leonard, who was standing at the doorway of his firehouse when debris would shoot by. Of course, the air and the movement of the debris, he knew something serious was afoot, and he would immediately dispatch his team. Another interview was done with Kelly Izzo. She and her mother was headed out to Eastwood Mall to pick up her sister, and her mother saw the danger and saw what was going on. They pulled up into a convenience store, ran inside. Around a couple minutes after they get in, 2 or 3 to be exact, the roof collapsed on top of them. Kelly, who was 8 years old at the time, woke up with a lady laying across her legs. Actually, it was one of the 9 people that lost their lives that day, to be exact. The Niles Village Plaza, I go here a lot. I go to Mark's a lot, and Planet Fitness used to be over here. That day is kind of haunting looking at the tornado as it would zigzag, and other times it would go straight, and you can see it right behind the plaza there. Along the way, we claimed numerous homes, if you will. It leveled over 72 homes, and over 200 other homes were severely damaged. It was on the ground, some say just shy of an hour, as it went 47 miles. Some said 78. I put 78 in the movie, but disregard that. I went back and looked at the charts myself. That would have been around a 47-mile, if you will, jump from Silver Lake all the way to Hermitage/Wheatland area, if you will. Got various photos on that day. You can see how the devastation was. A lot of people's lives were changed. One of my co-workers, Andrew Zimbauer, he was 8 years old himself on that day. He was out playing on the street. He said there was a lot of kids in his neighborhood, product of the baby boom phenomenon, if you will. And the parents ran out on the porches simultaneously and ushered all the kids inside and then down into the basement. Andrew recounted that when he was in the basement, he could still hear parents frantically trying to get their kids in the house into safety. It was some kind of day, kind of like a scene out of a movie, if you will. Now's safety officials, county officials, and people from all over the area, even Youngstown where I live, responded to help. Here you see they're carrying out one of the victims. 9 people died in Niles, to be exact, and along the way a few others in our area, with 12 there. But a total number I put in the captions there, you'll see during that 40-mile trek of the tornado, it claimed numerous lives along the way. That was a date where everybody would remember where they were. This tornado was ranked as one of the deadliest tornadoes in the United States history. It was one of the many tornadoes that happened during the 80s for some reason. There was a lot of tornadoes that happened during the 80s, and this was one of them, if you will. The outbreak of these tornadoes were numerous. Over $140 million damage plus, and if you put that in today's money 40 years later, of course, it would be a lot more. People would poke fun a little bit and would laugh about it to try to take some stress off the situation, poke fun at what had happened. You'll see some signs I posted here as well. as I continue to offer commentary. The pictures, I'll speak 1,000 tales, don't they? You know, that's what they say. Here it is, 78 miles later. Some people said it was 78 miles, but when I went back and did the math, checked out the geographics, it was around 47, 48 miles to be exact. They were spot on when I got the latest figure and to how long it was down. It was on the ground the whole time. It never let up, and you saw I mentioned that. Union Cemetery suffered severe damage. You could see some of the people out there, evaluators, looking at what the damage that had been done. The iron workers volunteered their services. A lot of retired iron workers came out with small cranes, etc., and righted the headstones. It would get help, if you will, get the cemetery back in order, if you will. Here you see an oil tank had blown onto the road. There was a few of them that were twisted and mangled. I thought this was the most dramatic shot. Hundreds of people were badly injured. As the pictures kind of lay attested that some people actually stayed in their cars, and safety officials always advise against that. Some dubbed it the wind of change, if you will. Here you see that all hope is not lost. People band together. All communities in the area came together. Girard, Niles, Struthers, Youngstown, Campbell, all surrounding communities came together. You'll see the figure here of 200 people plus were injured on that day. You can see a firefighter who is probably a little stressed at this point and overwhelmed at this point, just taking a moment before I'm sure one of his colleagues came along and said, hey, let's get back in there. The biggest thing in the beginning was clearing the debris off people and make sure people that weren't buried alive, as they say. Here I mentioned that, of course, the tornado stayed on the ground the whole way. You can see here, I think this was before Wheatland, but nevertheless, probably the Niles area where it was leaving out. Did the most damage in our area now. It took out a plaza, matter of fact, where my wife goes to Raphael's and get her hair done in that plaza, Niles Park Plaza or Plaza Park or something. Along the way, if you're heading out towards the Eastwood Mall from Youngstown, will be on the right-hand side. That's where you'll see a dedication to 9 people that lost their lives in Niles. $140 million in property damage. And that was a conservative estimate of the damage that took place on that day, if you will. Here's a headline from the Youngstown Vindicator. The actual photo of the Vindicator was copyrighted. I wasn't going to use that in this production. So that was the headline it read there. Twister smash and caused severe damage, as you saw the headline there. It was something to see an old video clip of all the mayors of all these communities that were affected. Governor Richard Celeste at the time came up from being down south there in the Ivory Tower, I call it. He came. President Bush, members of FEMA, and a lot of other federal agencies descended on the area. You can see here, of course, Jim Trafficking was out there doing his thing, being a blessing to people and helping mitigate emotionally, anyhow, to what had happened on that date, if you will. Here's the tribute to 9 people, 8 women and 1 man that lost their lives on this day. We will never forget them. And at the plaza I mentioned, you'll see a placard there that pays tribute to these 9 that lost their lives on that day. And Ernest Miller, Ann Miller, they were husband and wife, of course. What a day. Here's a couple consoling each other, if you will, offering emotional support. I'm Joseph Napier Sr. I thank you for coming along with me on this 8-minute plus journey while I talk about and recount what happened on that day, May 31st, 1985, 40 years ago, to be for sure. Please join me on NAPE 1962 on YouTube, where I have other short video productions such as this one. Thank you for joining me, everyone.